Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Kiln Restaking Rendez-Vous. Today, we have the honor of welcoming Matan, co-founder at eoracle. I'm Edgar, protocol specialist at Kiln, the leading enterprise-grade staking platform. And today, we're going to be talking about the great eoracle AVS. Matan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, Edgar.
Pleasure. First and foremost, can you introduce yourself a little bit, kind of give us your background story and how you ended up working in crypto in this crazy space?
Sure thing. So my name is Matan, and my journey into crypto started in 2016. I moved from Israel to California and learned about crypto at Singularity University. The moving from a small country to California and working and learning with people from all over the world kind of felt to me, while learning about crypto and about the promise of blockchain, more than finance, it's connected to me with this is how our generation should coordinate on a global scale. This technology is the best thing to really allow global innovation without borders. And I was very excited about different implementations of smart contracts and where this would lead, how eliminating the middleman or eliminating this central powerful entities that control what we know as finance, in our world today, and really allowing much more power to the innovators, to the ones that build, while minimizing all of the hurdles and how would I say that, the permissions that you need. Seems like magic to me. And I was starting to experiment with smart contracts, and it became very clear that there is not much that you can do yet. So I was focused on what will enable being able to do more, running different clients and trying to provide data on-chain, from off-chain to on-chain, to create smart contract applications in the early days were very difficult, and it's led me more to focus on execution and consensus layers, on how blocks are being built, how transaction ordering have all of this value if you are able to position yourself before or after certain transactions. It was before this term as MEV, and I was really focused on that, and intrigued by how the settlement layer, how Ethereum is changing through EIPs, and we had this big change in the horizon of moving from proof of work to proof of stake, and it was very clear to me that the validator role is the most important role, and right now it have these two responsibilities of execution, building the blocks, and consensus, signing on the blocks, but we have to see modularity there as well, and how this modularity would look like. We had early on MEV boost, and I started this initiative of building sort of a data aggregation platform that really, I was thinking that we're going to see hundreds of different block builders building in different ways, but I was very wrong about that, as there are only few block builders that are very professionals in what they do and specialized. So I said, all right, the focus is not really there. It's more on consensus layer modularity, and if you take away from validators this need in specializing in building blocks, and you abstract it away to this competitive marketplace, you are leaving them with more capability to do other things, right? what is really needed, it's really connected with me as my early days in the space. An oracle bridges middlewares that today exist in the space and live in their own unique, dedicated trust system. What if that can come into the base layer and consolidate? And that's became very clear to me that this will happen. I didn't know exactly how or when. When I met Shriram from EigenLayer, it became very clear to me that this is the how. Now the question is, what is the best way to integrate the trust that we have in the base layer and the diverse set of validator into actually executing additional tasks without introducing new trust assumptions, without putting yourself at the center? That was the big question that I start dealing with. Probably I was late 22 and early 23 when we launched Lightblocks.
Great. Super interesting and perfect. So today we're going to talk mostly about oracles. Can you give us like a dumbed-down explanation for the most novice part of our audience of what is an oracle and what is an oracle in the context of crypto and public blockchains?
All right. So in essence, oracle networks need to come to consensus on everything that blockchain don't come to consensus on. Blockchains, as we know them, only come to consensus on three things: private key signatures, state machines, and token ledgers. And oracles needed to provide all of the connection that is go behind that. So oracles, in essence, bridge the gap between any kind of an external data or external compute that is needed by smart contract applications. Perfect.
And so can you tell me a bit about like what's the recent history of oracles in crypto? How did they come to be? And who are the leading players at the moment?
So oracles go back pretty much since the beginning of Ethereum. And, for the vast majority of this time, there's been one oracle that is dominating this space more than anyone else. This oracle called Chainlink, and it's probably bigger than all of the other oracles combined. It's funny. I don't think there is any, like, you cannot say the same thing on any other middleware or any other sector in crypto that have such a monopoly on one use case.
Yeah, it's true. And so in that context, what would be the origin story? You already talked a bit about this, but what would be the origin story of eoracle, and what basically like was the aha moment where you realized that you needed to build something like this?
One of the aha moments for me were the Justin Drake Enshrine Oracle proposal back in 2020. Justin Drake proposed that the validators of the network themselves will add an Oracle data into the block that they are building. So the block proposer will add into the extra data field an Oracle update, and that will be aggregated across time. And to me, that was the first time that I was kind of starting to be aware of the idea that what if you can do this thing with the validators of the chain. So we know that the chain itself cannot do it, as we just said a moment ago, but what if you can use the same entities that are validating the chain instead of introducing a new trust system to trust additional validators and additional tokens? What if you could do it with the Ethereum validators and it that will back this entire process? And the problem with that was that to force all of the validators of the network to do that, you are raising the barrier of entry. You are making it more complicated to run an Ethereum validator, and we don't want that. Ethereum as the settlement layer is the most important thing, and you know, as I said at the beginning of our conversation, really what is one of the biggest game changers for our generation of allowing this credible, neutral, permissionless, global diverse settlement layer to do so many different things. And in order to make sure that it's keep getting more and more decentralized, the ease of running a validator need to be very low. And requesting this assignment, this task is raising that. So that was an issue. And also you also have an issue of latency of doing that. Every Ethereum block and aggregating across many blocks, you wouldn't have the latency that you need for many different applications. So that idea never came into fruition. But that was the beginning of why. What if we can do it with a subset? We don't need all of the validators. We don't need all of the stake. But if we can create an incentive mechanism that will bring in a subset of Ethereum validators with the stake and define these terms of what they need to do, that can be the next evolution of Oracle networks.
Very interesting. And so now I guess it makes sense to me why you're building on EigenLayer, right? Because you really want to be, you really want it to be an alignment between Ethereum stakeholders and your Oracle network, basically. And so it just makes sense for one to use the economic security of the other. Tell me if I'm wrong.
Yes, you are very correct. Eigen enable this trust marketplace where, in essence, you can inherit security from Ethereum, and you also connect to the same validator set of the network. You're allowing them to onboard if they choose so, and the goal is, as I mentioned earlier, is to build this system that don't introduce additional trust assumptions, that really put all of the trust of the system in the most similar way to Ethereum proof of stake, right? Because you can do this, but without, let's say, the blockchain piece of it. You basically connect between these validators in some kind of off-chain reporting way, where they interact with one another, pull data from APIs, and submit it to some kind of a publisher. But it was very clear to us from the early days that doing so, that the strongest part of this mechanism is the stake and then the validator set that is already established. And bootstrapping something like that would be the hardest thing that you can do. If you would ask me what set us apart from other oracles or from other, let's say, middlewares, is the ability of not creating that from scratch. So how can we hone in on these attributes? And in order to do that, you need a transparent mechanism that really incentivize decentralized participation, and make sure that you are not trusting these entities just because they are Ethereum validators, but you are trusting them because there is an incentive mechanism in play that makes sense for them to do what is best for the system, in a very similar way to how Ethereum proof of stake works.
Yeah, makes sense. And so we touched upon the greatest, the main great and novel thing about eoracle, which is that it's an oracle that brings a lot more alignment with Ethereum. Can you tell me more about like what how like eoracle is different from current available solutions? And you talked about the major incumbent, which is Chainlink. Can you tell me a bit about like how you're going to try to take Chainlink's market share?
Yes. So it's we have here the question of trust in brand or trust in the architecture, in the crypto economic security, and we are here to build incorruptible system. Just because something has been working well most of the time, it doesn't mean that it will always work well. And we need to ask ourselves, is there a way of this system turning and working against the interest of the users, or manipulating the outputs in any given way because someone decided to do so? I think that it's very clear to us today that even if Ethereum Foundation, or even if we don't trust Ethereum because Ethereum Foundation, and even if Vitalik want to do something, he is not able to do something against the rules of the system. And that's very clear to all of us. This is why we are here. This is why we are trusting the system. At the same time, we don't think that Vitalik have these intentions in mind, but we don't need to trust him, although he have a great brand. This is not the case with oracles today. Oracles are built in a way, we just talked about Chainlink. Chainlink built in a way that smartcontract.com are the owners of the smart contract, that are proxy contracts. They are deciding who will be the validators. It's completely permissioned. And we don't have any transparency into what are the incentive mechanism of these validators, or are there slashing or punishment? If there haven't been a slashing event on Chainlink, these are questions that we don't really know the answers to. And we think that, it's might not been a problem up until today in the last few years, right? It's worked well. But we are trying to build towards a system that you won't need to trust that it might not happen. And we think that this is needed. With that being said, it wasn't possible up until today, right? Connecting into the trust of the base layer was something that is only now being enabled through restaking. So there is a major differentiation between these two systems. And I think that, this, in essence, we can look at the Oracle problem and maybe confuse it with problem of oracles. Because if you will talk to many other Oracle teams and you will ask this question, they will answer in latency. They will answer in cost of update, in variety of price fits. And these are problems of oracles. They are not the Oracle problem. And we can only improve on them on top of, while we have a design that inherent its security from Ethereum, now we can say, all right, we have this system that we know that is secure and decentralized and working in a similar way to what we consider as the gold standard. And how can we now make sure that it's working in low latency, that it can support a variety of different price feed, or maybe different data points or off-chain compute. And this is the type of thinking that we had in mind in designing this process. And eOracle is a programmable and modular oracle, which means that we are not at the center of defining. We are only doing price feed. We are only doing stock data, or we are not doing financial data. We're actually going to connect you with insurance or with real estate data. We think that as the blockchain space evolve, there will be more and more use cases, and no one entity will know how to predict what will be most needed. And we also don't want to predict. We want to allow permissionless innovation. This is what we are very excited about. How can we build a system that will allow supply and demand to meet? And this is the big promise behind the Oracle, a trust marketplace where you are allowing dApps on any rollup to define some kind of an API that they want to connect to. And on the other side, you have Ethereum validators that are backed by Stake that are willing to go out and bring this data. And there is a pricing and a marketplace sort of pricing that they are reaching, where if a dApp is willing to pay more, there will be more operators and more stake that's coming into the picture that's backing this output, which means that maybe there will be more demand for this type of data. But if the opposite, if there is less demand, you're going to see less stake backing the same outputs. So really allowing free and open market dynamics to come into the Oracle space and replace this subscription fee or upfront integration fees that we know as what oracles tend to do up until today.
Great. So I guess my next question is diving deeper in the context of EigenLayer. And EigenLayer is basically a marketplace for decentralized trusts. And the people what the bidders are actually wanting is economic security. And my question is, how much economic security does eoracle want?
So I think that's connected perfectly to how we ended the last question. Different oracle outputs will need different security. So we can only assume, based on how we know DeFi to work today, that price speeds will be what will require more security. But we envision a marketplace where different types of data will need different amounts of security, and they will be able to be priced accordingly. So if we are this year in 2024, half of the world is going to vote, and we have many elections in different countries. So I assume that before the US election, there will be a lot of prediction bets happening on chain, and let's say that the amounts of that will be X. You will need an oracle that is able to provide you this data in a way that you know that you can trust it, and will trigger a smart contract in a way that's crypto-economically secure. But it will only work this way for a certain period of time. And that's the beauty in connecting to the base layer security, that you have elasticity. You can call for more security, and you can also leave more security. But the best thing about it, it's what if the team don't need to do this tweaking, but you really allow pricing to do this tweaking. And if the market is willing to pay for something, the security will be there, because capital efficiency, stakers, operators looking to earn more. And when there will be less payments, they will just move to another price feed, or even to another AVS, if this AVS won't have the usage that it should have. So we are moving towards this more efficient market.
Very interesting. And so that's actually like a good point, meaning that like the need for economic security can be like very variable, and it can depend basically on the value at stake from the dApps, correct? And so have you already, I don't know if there have been like studies on this, but it would be interesting. I don't know if you have the answer. If you know like what would be good enough security, let's say, for $100 of value at stake, how much economic security is enough?
So that's different between different use cases. The economic security that you need for $100 on a derivative market that have 100x leverage trading, and the economic security that you will need in the lending market that is allowing you loan to value of, let's say, 0.5 is very different. This need to be priced according the security that you need in order to be crypto economically secure, where the cost of corruption is higher than the profit from corruption, is really what make an oracle crypto economically secure. As of today, you don't really get that from oracles. You cannot. First of all, there are no slashing that we know of, so the cost of corruption is not really there, and you don't have a direct correlation between how much is at stake and the output that the oracle is securing. Now, in addition to all of that, the stake that does exist in some oracles is denominated in the token of the oracle. Now, when a certain protocol have an issue, have some kind of an attack that is happening, the first thing to happen is that spiral where the token is being affected by the event, but the token is now needed for the security. So at the time that you need the token most to have value, it's actually losing all of this value. Securing an oracle with a token like Ethereum that is independent from all of these activities, and even if the oracle have an issue and there is some kind of an attack on the oracle, the stake in it still maintaining its value. So we are not just looking at a solution that is more cost effective, but it's also more secure even at edge cases.
Gotcha. And there is I guess my next question is around the variable forms of economic security that EigenLayer can provide. And right now, like we have heard from the EigenLayer protocol that there will be two forms of security. One would be pooled security, meaning that risk-takers, for example, can delegate to the Kiln operator, and the Kiln operator can potentially run a multitude of AVSs, or one AVS can ask for attributed security. Do you plan to have like a preferred model? Do you plan to go with pooled security at the beginning because it's the easiest implementation? And do you expect the dApps that will be using eoracle to ask for some sort of attributed security?
I think this is another reason why a marketplace model for pricing make more sense, as you allow different pricing of attributed security to pooled security. And if you are able to pay for attributed security, that's great. You will get attributed security. But if you need something that is more cost effective, shared security will allow you to share the cost of this security with other AVSs that might secure a bridge or data availability or a shared sequencer. It's clear that attributed security is superior when you know that this is dedicated. It's not completely dedicated. It's also securing the base layer itself. But is superior in terms of you are not sharing it with other AVSs at the same time. Initially, we are starting right now with shared security, and we are waiting for Eigen to launch attributed security and really price it to see how this market will evolve. I think we are all going to follow it live.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to see that play. Now, talking a bit about timelines. First and foremost, I want to congratulate you guys for the mainnet launch that is today, same day as recording. So congrats, you guys.
We are very happy to have Kiln as our launch partner here and on the operator. Exciting times.
Yeah, we'll be registered by end of day, so it's going to be definitely great. We'll see things play out in real time. I guess my question is like now that the AVS is live, what are the next milestones for you guys, for eoracle?
Yes. So the next milestone for us is to release the eoracle SDK and to initiate integrations on the different rollup frameworks. And this is something that is happening very soon. And I think that we are seeing the space is growing in a way that it's quite different than where things have been in previous cycle. Instead of seeing more and more applications deploying on mainnet, we are moving into many different stacks that support different rollup frameworks and rollup as a service provider that making this process to become so much easier. And these rollups need Oracle integration. Our goal here is to support them in this process and to really enable a new rollup to come online and to have an Ethereum Oracle at Genesis that you can connect to, and you can get a secure feed that is really customized for your own need and price in staked it that might be shared or not be shared with other rollups and with other AVSs. And these are what's coming up online. Of course, that all of these things are happening in a gradual way as this is how it is when you build the infrastructure.
Definitely. And now that the AVS is actually live, can you talk a bit about the incentives for the operators and the restakers to provide this economic security to eoracle?
Sure. So early on, we are announcing the point system. That is also happening right now. I think that we are the first AVS to come up and publish the point system. Our point system have two phases. The first phase is very straightforward, as we have on one side stake and time, and that's what the operators can expect, a very straightforward calculation that is very similar to how Eigen did theirs. And in the second phase, after the operators are running the software for a little while, and we can value them more based on their, let's say, smooth operating of the system, their consistency. We will also apply additional weights on how this operator is actually performing. And following that, we will move into a more direct payment that will be after the point phase is ending. And I think that, we're going to be able to share more about it later on, but it's very clear that many operators will prefer to be paid in ETH or in USDC. Right? This is reducing the risk for an operator. You know exactly what you are being paid for your work. While on the other end, you have this tension where AVSs will say, I prefer to pay you with my own token. And we're going to see this market dynamic where, again, supply and demand define how this interaction will take place. If you think about any other proof of stake system, they are all paid in the form of their own token. We are not aware of, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong here, about...
There is, I think, one exception the dYdX chain is paying stakers with USDC. It's the only exception I can think of, but generally, like, you are more than correct. Like, usually they pay with the token emissions.
And I think that we might see here as well certain AVSs paying with it for, let's say, things that are more valuable for them. But I mentioned earlier the enshrined price feeds by Justin Drake proposal back in 2020. That was countered by Vitalik with a proposal for a dual token oracle. And that was published in the ETH Research Forum, and Vitalik was describing there how he thinks that a dual token oracle is superior to an oracle that is only worked on with it, as you are able to get more done when you are incentivizing and aligning the interest of the operator with the native token of the system itself. And this is something that it's a big part of our system, as we are built as on a dual token mechanism, where on one side you are secured by it, but on the other side you are able to do all of the micro adjustments in relation to liveness, and definitely on the incentive, but also in terms of making sure that if slashing on it should take place only when you have a coordinated attack, only when you have, like, this is the last resort. This is what we want to avoid at all costs, and only do it when you have some kind of a coordinated manipulation attack on the protocol. And this is the same for Ethereum proof of stake, right? A major slashing event can only happen if you have multiple entities that are doing something against the protocol at the same time and risking the protocol. For anything else, you have an active decay, or you have slashing that will be on a much smaller amount of the stake principle. And we're thinking about it in the same way. So triggering slashing in it only happen in edge cases, and all of the other functionalities of the system are being incentivized for good and bad behavior in the form of our own native token to support really the smooth functioning of the system, and to ensure higher quality of the operation and the alignment of the participants that are really the system itself.
Yeah, definitely. It makes a lot of sense. So yeah, it's gonna be very interesting to see all of that play out. Everybody has their own predictions on what will be like what will happen in this entire market. I think that it will be definitely divided into two phases. Like, we're going to see like very different behaviors in the bull market that I think we're currently in, and then in a bear market that could happen in the next 2 years. So the participants will have like different behaviors and different preference. Let's talk a bit now about like maybe a personal questions coming from an AVS operator. How heavy will the eoracle AVS be? Do you have like is there like a standard implementation of eoracle? Do you plan on making that complexity like gradually like more and more complex, depending on like what the operator wants to do on eoracle? And do you plan on maybe also fragmenting this AVS into multiple different AVSs? We're already seeing AVSs like EigenLayer do something like that.
Yeah. So early on, the client is as light as it gets, and if you think about Oracle operators and Oracle clients, they really do two things. They connect and fetch data, and they do computation on this data. We separated the two, as the computation actually take place on chain, on smart contracts, and the data validators are doing the fetching of the data. So we make it easier on them and more transparent on the entire system while separating the two. It's also allowing us to have more accuracy on what exactly the input and the output of this operator should be at any given point of time. And also what allows us to have it as more of a light client. But in the future, there will also be probably different types of client that will run different aspects as off-chain compute and also the chain itself. We are in a lot of conversation with the Eigen team on how the strategy manager should allow more differentiation within the same AVS rather than creating more AVSs. I think it's more of a question of efficiency and modularity within the AVS, but that's a little bit down the line, I think, for most. Probably for rollup as a service, separating them make more sense in that essence.
Super interesting. Very interesting to see like different ways to tackle this problem. Last questions regarding operators, like how do you envision your active set requirements to be? EigenLayer just launched 2 days ago, and they have a requirement of minimum of 320 ETH to opt in, and we've seen some operators struggle to get that amount, especially in the first weeks. How do you plan to have those requirements?
Yeah, so as of right now, you have the basic requirement of 32 ETH. We see the system need to be permissionless in terms of participation, and this is really, as we said earlier, one of the most important security aspect that we inherit from the base layer. So having a global diverse set of operators that are unrelated to one another, and you can trust the incentive of them operating as they should, rather than being, the opposite of that is to have a small set of operators that know each other very well and can very easily coordinate some kind of activity that go against the intention of the system. So we are trying to get much closer to what Ethereum have. I don't see us getting into, the million validators that Ethereum have, and that's probably not needed because we are not going to secure all of the value that exists on the Ethereum network. But as we grow and as we will have more integration and we will secure more types of applications on different chains, the validator set will grow with it.
Great. And maybe now we can try to zoom out a bit and look at the restaking space as a whole. I would love to have your vision on how EigenLayer and restaking as a whole will evolve in the future. We're starting to see some competitors of EigenLayer announce some funding rounds and so on. Do you feel like there is room for more than one restaking hub?
Well, we can see that investors in the space think that way, but I think that's a normal behavior of investors seeing something is really gaining traction and momentum, and they feel that they have not participated in that. So I think that we saw that with all of the slew of L1 killers, of Ethereum killers that are competing with Ethereum, and we saw how that's evolved. I don't think that we should think about what, from this perspective of VC funding, because this is very much incentive driven, and maybe these protocols, will have a token early on and will drive returns. But at the end of the day, this is something that is delicate, as having the best intentions in mind and making sure that while you amass so much stake you are building a system that protect it and is based on the values that I think Shriram and the Eigen team have as presented for so long. And this is crucial to see who are the people, what is their incentive. We are talking about incentive this entire conversation. We want to make sure that the incentives are there for building an extension of the trust in Ethereum require this extension to be trusted as well. And you do have some trust assumptions as additional functionalities bring with them additional trust assumptions. So we need to look very deeply on how these restaking competitors are building their system, what they are prioritizing, and evaluate them based on that, and not evaluating them based on they closed the round with that VC because this VC have great name and had some success in the past. These builders are inheriting this prestige. And I think that Shriram have been so open and transparent with the entire ecosystem in the process of building EigenLayer and the motives behind that, that this is why there is such an incredible community of AVSs and builders that assembled in the EigenLayer sphere.
Great. I think it's a great way to put it. Matan, I know this is your lunch day. You must be very busy. Do you have any last thoughts?
Well, I really enjoyed this conversation with you, Edgar. Thank you. Thank you for having me. And thank you for being with us in as an operator. Excited for what is to come.
It's our pleasure to have you, and it's our pleasure to be an operator running eoracle.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.